Hi everyone, this is Total War Therapy and today I'm gonna explain you how to play with Kislev step by step, how to build your army composition from the early campaign to the late campaign. So don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my video and let's start! The first unit you will get access with your settlement buildings during your Kislev campaign are the Kossars. The Kossars are hybrid units, that means that they are both good at missile and melee. This only in theory, because in the practice they are very good at missile but decent, just decent at melee. So you can let them throw their arrows while the enemy is approaching, and when the enemy will be finally arrived, you can let them engage in melee combat. Now, it's a very important unit because not only in the beginning of your campaign, but even in urgent situation, in underdeveloped provinces of your map where you don't have access to other military buildings to recruit more units, you have to rely only on them. And luckily there are two versions. There is a version more focused on melee and on melee against infantry, and another that is focused on cavalry with some bonuses like the anti-large bonus, the charge reflection and the charge defense. In any case, when you're building your army formation, you have to take into consideration that there will be some Kossars that will engage in melee and others that can stay in the second line at the back of the front line and still throw the arrows even when the game will be started. The only suggestion I feel to give you is to put the anti-large version to protect your flanks, because your enemy will get some cavalry or a fast beast to try to attack your sides, and you see it's very important to have some units like that with charge defense and charge reflection to protect your sides against this kind of attack. Say that overall you will have not only a second line but even a front line of archers, and you will experience a rain of arrows down to the enemy, and this will be very cool and very effective before you will weaken the enemy a lot before actually starting the battle when the two front line will be engaged. That's why these hybrid units, even if they are very expensive, they are a very good resource, and you should try to extract the most of their value both from the missile and from the melee attack. When you will build the first infantry military building of Kislev, you will get access to the Armoured Kossars, that are supposedly the upgraded version of the normal Kossars, while they are actually very different, because they are more armored, so more defensive, and they replace their arrows, their bow, with a pistol that is more an accessory. Even if they can be categorized as missile units, they are just melee units with this precursor weapon that will deal damage to the enemy a little before engaging in combat. In this way you get two versions of the Armoured Kossars, one with the shield and so better protected against missile attack, and with an axe, so more focused against low armor infantry, and a version with the great weapons that are these like kind of maces, very big. In this case they lose their shield, so they will not be protected from missile attack, but they will gain ammo piercing damage, and they will be stronger and more important against heavy infantry, for example. My suggestion about how to change your army composition in this case is to put the Armoured Kossars with shields as your front line. You can even use a kind of chessboard formation to still give a chance to your Armoured Kossars with the great weapons to shot with their pistols. So in this way you can still keep them in a very flexible situation, so they can decide where to attack in case a heavier infantry of the enemy is attacking on one side or in another, and at the same time they can shoot with their pistols while they are protected from the missile attack that will be focused on the Armoured Kossars with shield. In any case, the Kossars with bow, they can still be put in your second line, third line, to still throw. In this case they can focus more on throwing arrows, that, as we say, is their specialization, and remember to still keep the anti-large Kossars to defend your flanks. Now that you have a solid army with both a missile department and a melee department, we can start to talk about the lords and the heroes. In the Kislev roster, you will have access to two kinds of lord: the boyar, that is more a melee lord, and an end of the Ice Witch, that is the Spellcaster lord. We will talk about the units of the DLC later in the video. So for now, let's focus on the base game. The boyar, as I said, is the more melee focus and the support general of your army. If you want a spellcaster, so more magic and so on, you have access to the Ice Witch and the Frost Maiden, that are the lord and the hero version. How to use this unit? The boyar is supposed to be in the middle of your army, both for the encourageability that needs to boost the leadership of all your army, and because it's a very strong unit, especially when he rides the bear. So it's very strong. It is important to keep it in a position when he can get access to many areas of your formation. The same for the spellcaster, that has to be protected, so it's better to put it between the front line or the second line, or even behind the second line, so they can throw, their spells while being protected by the rest of the army. Of course, when you will get access to the Frost Worm or the bear with the spellcaster, they will be tougher. So in this case, you can start to let them engage in melee. But remember that they are mostly spellcasters, so they need to have a free halfway, so they can just go from one part of the other of your army formation to cast the right spell at the right time. Then you have access to the Patriarch. That is a hero that I personally don't like a lot. I like it for the lore, but in the battlefield I feel is not that useful. That is more a support hero that basically has to be around with this chance. He can boost some of the stats of the units, but I mean, use it in the same way of the spellcaster. You can let him engage in melee, but I strongly not suggest it. Now that you have a solid army with missile units, melee units, and your lords and heroes, we can start to talk about the more mobile area of your army. I'm talking about the cavalry. The cavalry is split into two sections at the beginning. There is the missile cavalry, that is perfect for harassing strategy, for the skirmish mode, so you can throw arrows to the enemy while moving around the battlefield, distract unit, or the more melee light cavalry that is suitable to hit, for example, missile infantry, artillery, to debilitate this very important unit of your enemy. Of course, this is your decision if you're playing more defensively or offensively, but you have to remember that you have access to this fast unit and it gives you more chances of dealing with your battle. Then, when you will get access to new military building, you will start to recruit the winged lancers, that are a strong shock cavalry of Kislev, and then to the Griffon Legion. That to recruit this unit you need another building that is not the one of the cavalry. That is not the basic military building of the cavalry, but they have the same purpose. What is changed is that with this more elite cavalry you will get more armor, more charge, but less speed. So it will be harder to address missile infantry, to sneak around and to hit them at the side, but they will be more protected. So I can tell you that in any case it's always better to have winged lancers instead of the dervishes. So keep it that way. Cavalry can serve many purposes. It's important to state that Kislev is not a long-range faction. There is not that much artillery. They are more a mid-range with a lot of missile infantry, but you have to be careful, because if there are an enemy with more missile units, with longer range, with artillery, in this case the cavalry can be very, very important if you're playing defensively. You can send your horsemen against this missile artillery to debilitate them, so they will not cause you damage while you will still play defensively. Or you can play in an offensive mode, and in this case they can be helpful to flank the enemy, and maybe some units of the enemy will be routing, and you can hit them, so they will just depart away, and so on. So use them in a very versatile way, and you will see that they can be very effective even if they are more expensive. Now that you have all the basics for a good army composition, we can start to talk about the more elite units that you have access with Kislev. First, let's talk about the Tzar Guards. The Tzar Guards are the ultimate elite infantry for your Kislev army. They are tougher than Armoured Kossars, they have better melee stats, but they lose completely their ranged weapons. So you will not get bow, you will not get pistol, you will have a basic front line, but tougher, and it's probably the best option in the late campaign when you need a very stubborn armored front line to defend your army. You will get two versions, the normal with the shield and the sword, and the version with great swords, that in this case you are not supposed to use it as your front line, but as a support second line unit, so they will you have to send them against a heavy infantry that is attacking your front line, and they will do a good job. In any case, the more important unit here is the Tzar Guard with shield, because as we say, it will be your front line for the rest of your campaign. Then we have the Ice Guards. The Ice Guards are the ultimate missile units for Kislev. They are still hybrid, so they're good, decent at melee, but I mean, I would not suggest to rely on that. They have this incredible frost bow that can slow down enemy, and this is very effective. They are very expensive unit, but you can see the difference in their in the damage they deal. So I strongly suggest to recruit them when you get access to them. They're very powerful, and yeah, you can just do a doomstack of them. It would be very good. And even here you have two versions. The version with the swords, so perfect against infantry, and the version with glaives that it will be needed to defend your flanks, for example, from monsters and heavy cav. Then we have the Streltsi. Yeah, the Streltsi. The Streltsi are a very key. I mean, it's a very, how can I say, loved and hated unit in this roster, because it's good at its job. It's still a hybrid unit, but even in this case, they have armor piercing damage with their big rifle axe. But at the same time, you have to be very careful because they have a low defense. They are not such a very big armor, so if not protected, they can go down very soon. And their best ability is just the rifle. So the long range attack that require a straight line. So to shoot with your rifle, you need to have a clear sight of the enemy, and you cannot put them in your front line. So they have to be not protected in your front line or at the sides, and yeah, they have this long range weapon that at the same time, for how the game is working right now in the current state, there will be many bugs when they will try to target the enemy, so be very careful. But yeah, if you use them correctly, they will be a very nice choice in your roster. Then at the end we have the Bear Cavalry. The Bear Cavalry is one of the most elite cavalry probably in all the game. They are this bear with the riders, with the winged lancers on them, and they are an anti-large monstrous cavalry, so they are not made to deal with the infantry, even if heavy infantry, but mostly to defend your flanks from monsters, from cavalry, or to attack the monsters and cavalry, or maybe mounted character that can be very good at multiple purposes. And even in this case, I would suggest to recruit a couple of them in your army during your late campaign, of course, because they are very powerful, and not a single penny of the price you are paying will be wasted if you use them correctly. Now we arrived to the last part of your basic army composition. We will talk later about the advanced units and the DLC units, but yeah, the most elite unit you will get in this roster is the Ice Bear, the Elemental Ice Bear. This is a very strong tank, and if it's Kislev is one of your first campaign, it's a good way to deal with the big monster, the big single entities of this game. So you get access to this big tanky monster that has the shape of a bear, that you have to use it to absorb damage. His stats are good, the charge is not that good. He has this breath attack that requires a little of micromanagement but can be very powerful, so remember to use that at the beginning of the battle. And yes, it will be needed to absorb most of the damage by melee units, some missiles, but at the same time you have to protect him, you have to babysit him, because it can be very vulnerable if it's you know, subject to a crossfire by all the missile units of the enemy, and in that case it can go down very soon, even if it has a lot of health. So careful and use it as a tank, because its role here is to absorb damage. You can still use it against cavalry character, other monsters, but yeah, it's the only single entity monster you will get access with your base game. So yeah, be careful about it and just enjoy this. Oh my god, it's just crazy. Now that you understood how to play with the army compositions of Kislev, we can start to talk about the more advanced units. With advanced I mean that they require more management, more attention, and why not more expertise of how the game works. So I don't suggest to use them if you are at your first campaign, but when you will play more and play more, you can start to understand how to use them correctly. First we have the cat, the snow leopard. The snow leopard is basically an assassin here. His key feature is the speed and the damage, so he's made to sneak around the enemy, and as you will see, compared to other units, it's easier to move around a little unit and not an entire army. It would have been like many say just you know, many snow leopards together. In this case it would be hard to move inside the battle, but since it's a single entity unit, a little single entity unit, you can just move around, sneak around the different units, army, and you can get to the spellcaster, the support hero, the lord, but not a very strong lord, and you can take him down directly. And it's very effective at this role. The problem is that it's a very niche role, and as I said, it requires a lot of management, because if you're attacking a mage and then the enemy is sending a unit to protect the mage from your cat, it will go down. Okay, so be very careful, and when you start to get used to how Kislev works, you can start to try to use it. Then we have the cannon. The cannon is another very strong unit here, and why I put it in an advanced section is because it's basically a chariot hybrid unit. It's not a field artillery piece that you just put behind your second line and you waited to throw their cannonballs. No, this is a mobile unit that you have to use as a mobile unit, and don't forget that there is a bear attached to that, so it's even good at melee. How to use it? You have to use it at the beginning as an artillery piece, even like going out of your army formation. So if your enemy is far and you cannot reach it from inside your army formation, you can just move it outside. Then you can put him back when the enemy is approaching, and at the end of that, you can, when you will probably finish your ammunition, you can start to use it as a chariot, as a support chariot to deal with some light infantry and so on. So it's very versatile, and if you want to extract all the value from that, you have to take into consideration all its abilities and not just the cannon itself. At the end we have the chariots. The chariots of Kislev are probably some of the best chariots in the game, if not the best, because they have bears, they have plenty of armor, and they have bullets. They have the Streltsi that you know, shoot with their rifles, and it's very good. They are very powerful. They are strong against characters, other cavalry, heavy infantry, like everything. They're just amazing. You just to be careful from fast single entities, monster, predators or characters, but I mean fast characters and so on, but they're just insane. Then you have to remember all the rules of how to play with chariots. So you have to charge enemies, then try to go away, then charge again, psycho charge, and you know, you can stay a little and just move. Don't let them get stuck. into the enemy formation, because in this case they will go down soon. So be very careful about them. Use all the charge rules that I should probably make a video about, because it's a very important topic in this game. And yeah, if you use them correctly, you seriously get access to one of the most powerful units of this game. Now let's talk about the units you will get access if you buy the DLC Shadows of Change. I decided to give them a separated section because I mean, many people can play the base game and they don't want to purchase this other content. So I mean, I wanted to make a guide for you know, for just for the base player. And then in this section we will talk about how these units will upgrade your army composition. First, we have a new lord and a new hero. We have the Druzina. That is a more support lord, hybrid support lord. He has a strong missile attack, and this is strong in melee too, but not like the Boyar. So you will have in this case a lord that helps your units overall, you know, boost the stats of your enemy, of your of your all your units around the battlefield. But it will be less, I mean, more than the Boyar, so more support than the support provided by the Boyar, but it will have less melee stats. And I mean, with the missile damage also. Honestly, it's my favorite lord, just by the way. Then you get the Hag Witch. This is a hero. No, it's not a lord. And yes, you have to use it in the same way of the Frost Maiden. So it's just a spellcaster that you should move around. In this case, you're also a chariot and an artillery piece. So you can still use it. It has to be a little closer to the enemy, probably, because you can shoot your magic artillery missile, and you can still use it as a chariot. Of course, they're not that sturdy and strong, but I mean, they do their job actually, so don't underestimate it. You don't have a mere spellcaster like with the Frost Maiden, but you have an actually spellcaster strong at melee with a strong artillery piece, and yeah, take into consideration all of that. Then we have the units, the 5 units with added with all the patches to the Shadows of Change DLC. We have the Kislev Warriors. The Kislev Warriors are insane. I say about the Kossars because if you have the base game, you don't have access to the Kislev Warriors. But if you have them, everything changes, because you have to cover your all your army of Kislev Warriors, because they are very cheap but very good. They have a high leadership for their tier, and they have this ammo pacing anti-large damage that will protect you from any light cavalry. But even in the late campaign, I mean, even Monster will struggle a little against them, and they are so cheap, so easy to recruit, so they're insanely powerful. I don't get why they are here. Probably they broke the game in some cases, because now when you play against Kislev, you don't have only Kossars, but you have these Kislev warriors that protect all the army. Then we have the Akshina Ambushers. This is another crazy unit. It's a missile stalk unit, actually very decent at melee in this case. They had a lot of armor piercing damage, and then they took it off with some patches because they were too strong, and they are still too strong. They are one of the scariest units when I play against Kislev, and I see a couple of units of them. I just, oh my god, how can I do now? But when you use them, they're very strong, as I said. You can use them as a missile second line, or you can use them as a stalk unit, so sneak around the enemy and attack at their back. This is just your decision, but of course you're paying for the stalk attribute, that it's very expensive, so it would be probably better if you just sneak around the battlefield and attack your enemy at the back. Then we have the things of the woods. The things of the woods are not a Kislev unit, are a chaos units that are in some way order faction related, but I mean, I don't ask questions. They are an actually monstrous cavalry. You have to use them in the same way of your cavalry, so you can just replace probably. They're kind of between the winged lancers and the dervishes, so you have access to a fast, high damaging unit that you can use against infantry. and you don't need to psycho charge. You can just let them be engaged in melee, and they will do a very nice job. They're very strong. I really have a lot of fun to use them, and I think even if they are not very order, they're very funny to use in a order fashion, so completely approved. Then we have the Frostwyrm. The Frostwyrm is a very, in my opinion, underrated unit of this roster. This is because people use it in the wrong way. It's not a predator, it's not a tank. It's basically it's like the Colossal Squeak. Okay, if you played with the Omens of Destruction, the last DLC. So it's this big single entity monster with a little armor and very fast, that you have to move it around the battle and to hit and run against many different area of your battle, but you don't have to keep it stuck in one location. And if you use it in this way, I can tell you that they are very strong. Okay, if you use it as a tank, a single entity tank, they're not good. If you use them as a predator, they're not good. But if you use it as this jolly, just moving around, I can tell you that they are quite effective at their job. And as a last, we have the Incarnate Elemental of Beast. This is another tricky unit that I don't suggest to use it for new players, because it's very vulnerable. If attacked by missile weapons, it would just go down in literally seconds. Okay, so be very careful about that. I played with that against Dark Elves in the oh my god, I forgot the name, in the Baba Yaga, in the Mother of Stankia campaign, and yeah, the time that the black shards of Dark Elves started to hit it, it just went down in nothing. So you have to be very careful. But when it starts to deal against infantry cavalry characters, they're very strong. They have a lot of damage, armor piercing damage. They are not that slow, and they have a good charge. So I mean, the units overall, for me, it's quite strong. So I suggest to use it, but not against missile focus faction, because otherwise you have just to keep it behind your third line and wait for the right moment to debilitate all the other missile units before attacking.